Hi, this is Anna from Post My Book. I have truly stumbled over finishing the book Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. This book I was supposed to finish about 2 weeks ago, and I kept putting it off. Well, I didn't keep putting it off, but I kept saying that I was going to finish it and finish it on a Friday, on a Wednesday. And there was a week that went by and I just did not pick it up. But that was just because other things had priority. But now, finally, I've finished the book. So this book, Sorrowland, is a book about a girl called Vern, who's at the beginning of the book, she's 13 years old, and she is raised in a community that's shut itself off from the outside world. It's a religious community of Black people, and the community was first came together because it was supposed to be a haven for Black people from the discriminations, the segregation that went on in the US. And then there came a man who then he became a religious leader. He ensured or he insisted that people followed certain rules that he made. And this he kept saying was because of keeping them safe. And in doing this, he also said that to keep them safe from the outside world, they were not allowed to leave the community. So it became a sort of religious sect. Now, Vern, she was 13. She was a willful girl. She was at some point very early on in the book, married off to a man who was older than her. So that's not a spoiler. It is very, very early on in the book. But her mother was quite okay with that she was married off. And we find her as a girl married to an older man, provoking this man and refusing to do what he tells her to do just to see what would happen, which is not uncommon for 13-year-olds. And she finds that certain things she could get away with. So we get to see that her character is one where she is quite a strong-willed girl. She's very much one who can stand on her own 2 feet, but at the same time, she's still a young girl. The story then follows the journey of Vern as she grows up. She's finding it more and more oppressive with the rules. She's an albino girl, and both because of that and because of her willfulness and her strong-mindedness, she stands on the outside looking in. She doesn't quite accept that these strict rules should be followed. And at one time, at the beginning of the book, she actually manages to escape from this compound when she escapes into the woods. At the time when she escapes in the woods, she was pregnant. So the story follows with the birth of her two children, who are twins, and how they manage to survive in the woods. This life in the woods is one of struggle and survival, also trying to keep her freedom because she's always aware that there's someone who's trying to capture her. She figured when she escaped from the compound that they would always be after her, so she's always in her mind thinking that there's someone after her. And she also finds out that somehow she becomes, while she's in the woods, she's transforming into something. She's becoming more aware. At first she's not so sure whether this is still part of what they called hauntings. When she still lived in the compound, everybody experienced hauntings. Hauntings are a type of night terror. And when she was in the woods, she wasn't sure whether this was just that. But she realizes that she's becoming more aware. She can hear voices in her head. She can see things that are not really there. But as the story goes on, she's transforming into something. So the story is about her transformation, and it's about her, I suppose, a coming of age, I guess you could say. Her survival with her two children. It's about her autonomy, because she did not want to be ruled by this religious cult. And it's also about, there is a depth of racism in this book, actually, because of what we then discover later on. It's not taken up so much, but it's something that you interpret from having the whole context of the book. Vern's life is weaved through the experiences that she has in the woods and how she then manages to go further on, and she meets new characters who then form her new life, because she's left her old life, which was her security. That was all she ever knew. She's left her mother, who, although she did not love in the sense of she felt she was a loving mother, it was nonetheless someone that she knew. So it's also
acceptance. It's also, the story is also about acceptance of what was and moving on and letting go of other things. It also explores the question of sexuality, because Vern also has her own questions surrounding this and what the religious cult leader had said about this. So it's a very interesting book in that sense. It was actually a very gripping book. Rivers Solomon keeps it right, almost right up to the end before we actually know what Vern is becoming. That's to say, if we even know what she ends up becoming. So that I found very gripping, actually. I did really enjoy this book, I have to say, albeit it took me a long time to read. I completely enjoyed it. I'll see what they say about the book itself on the back, because I think this is always interesting. I generally try to read this after I've read the book. It is a story of a fantastical, frightening, magical and real story. This is from Marlon James, author of Black Leopard, Red Wolf. Someone else said, the writing is visceral and soul-checking. I think now I've read 2 books by Rivers Solomon, this one, Sorrowland, and I forget what the other one was called. I've listened to The Deep, and the other one that was called, oh, I forget, even though I really enjoyed that book. That one was by far the best book of the 3 that I've read and listened to. Sorrowland will be the next best. The Deep I wasn't enthralled with, albeit in the beginning, absolutely, I totally liked this book. But Sorrowland, absolutely, I would recommend this book. I did listen to someone else giving a review about this book, and it is said to be a soul searcher type of book, magical, whimsical, as they say. That's in there, soul searching. I won't say that it actually elicited deep emotions in me. That I did not feel. I just found it quite an exciting book and a page turner, because I really wanted to know what she was becoming, and that just kept me turning the pages. And what also kept me turning the pages is the fact that it's about empowering oneself, and also the true searching, the love for other things. Her reason for escaping once she got out was also to find a friend, Lucy. And Lucy was her one bind that just kept her going in the beginning. And as she continues on her journey, she finds other things that actually help her realize that she doesn't always have to be alone. She finds other people who help her realize that she doesn't have to be alone. So she finds a family for herself, I guess one could say. And really, I guess the story is about that also. It's about family. It was a good book. Definitely recommend it. And then, of course, my next book is... I've taken up this book so many times, but now I've actually gone a little bit further. This is Empire of Silence by Christopher Ruocchio. I've not gone very far, because this book is quite a thick book, and it's going to take me a while to read, I have no doubt. But I have got about, let's see, 47 pages. I'm coming along well. 47 pages of, what was it, 600 pages? No. Yeah, about that. About 600 pages, but not quite. 589. So, I'm getting along well, right? That is Empire of Silence. Yeah, but I can say something about this book. It's good. So far, it's actually a good book. It's very easy to read. Even with the dauntingness of 600 pages, it's not so daunting, because it is actually an easy read. Christopher Ruocchio, he writes it very easily, and it's actually, so far, you do want to read this book. I mean, so far it's easy to turn the pages. The story's coming along very well. It's about let me see, is it called Hadrian? I hope I got this right. It's not that long ago I read the first page. Let's say Hadrian. And they're living on what? They're living on what planet? Is this Earth? I don't even know if they're living on Earth, actually. Well, it might take a while to discover this, but I'll come back. I'll come back next time and talk a little bit more, having having discovered whether they're living on Earth. All I know is that there's a war that might be brewing against another alien planet, where the aliens are kind of I think they're called Celians, and they destroy planets. They ravage it, and then the planet is gone. But anyway, so there's talk about these aliens who might be almost on their way. I'm also confused. Let me just wait until I've read a bit more of the book, then I can give a better idea. But good book so far. I'm also reading I Write What I Like, which is a kind of, I suppose it's writings of Steve Biko, who was a South African activist, and he became president of the South African Students Organization, which was a breakaway. Well, it wasn't really a breakaway organization. There used to be, or there was at the time, the National Union of Students Organization, NUSA, I think it was, which was the main student body of South African universities, student universities, or the main body of students in the time. So the SASO, South African Students Organization, of which Steve Biko was the president at the time, was created as an organization that should promote the interests of non-white students. So it was a kind of breakaway, because these organizations, some of them had tried to come up but had been brought down or crushed. This was in the time of apartheid in South Africa. So these non-white organizations had been crushed. So Steve Biko had formed with other students a new organization, which was the SASO, South African Students of Organizations. And he writes about this. So this book is I don't quite have it here, so I can't quite remember who the author is. But the author writes at the beginning that he knew Steve Biko quite well, and he's the one who writes the preface. He writes it, and he talks about, he has a short introduction of what Steve Biko was about. So what we know now, because this is posthumous, Steve Biko was born in 1933 and he lived until 1977. He died in a South African prison where he had been arrested. He had been arrested many times during his life as a student because of his political views and his political activities. He actually died in prison in 1977, and his death was pronounced to have been brought about by brain hemorrhage. I have been wanting to read this book for a long time. That book I definitely want to read. It's not a very thick book, and of course, because it's writings by Steve Biko himself, it's not necessarily something that has to be read day after day after day. I can pick it up and put it down, but so far I actually find it is very interesting. And even if sometimes you do get to a point where you just think, no, I do just want to read a book without any messages, just for the sake of enjoying it, this, as I said, is a book I want to read. And it is a book I'm going to read. And we'll see when I finish. This time I'm making no dates, no deadlines. Not for a single book. I will finish it when I finish it. But otherwise, that's it for this time. Thank you for listening. And like. And if you want, subscribe. Until next time. Bye-bye.